Yeah, no, you didn't read the title wrong. Igniel is back. You know, Igniel, Natsu's adoptive dragon dad who died in the fight against acnologia and Tartarus. Yeah, he's back. Well, for now. So yeah, chapter 210 of Fairy Tail Engineer's Quest effectively revived Igniel in a way that I'm pretty sure not a lot of people can kind of understand, but I think I do. I mentioned it in my chapter review, which go check out if you haven't already for full context on how Igniel returned, in a sense. But I'm going to further elaborate here in this video on how exactly Igniel returned within Natsu's body in order to fight Rock Build and helped give Natsu the true full power boost that he needs to actually beat Ignia in the first place. And could Igniel return in the future? And is this possible for the other Dragon Slayers that came to the current timeline from the Eclipse Gate? Before I go breaking down how this is possible, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos and hype up the video to help boost it in the algorithm to share with more people like yourselves, and maybe share this video with other Fairy Tail fans that you know that might be confused over what's going on in the manga right now. And if you want to see more of me outside of this channel, go and check out my second channel, GW Comics, where I talk about American comic books. Right now I'm very DC focused, but I've got some other stuff in the works that I plan to do for that channel as well. It's a passion project of mine, and I would really appreciate it if you guys go check that out in the description down below and the title card whenever you get the chance. But now, let's jump right into things. So, in chapter 210 of Fairy Tail Engineer's Quest, Natsu is talking to somebody in his head, kind of seemingly fighting for control, kind of a Jekyll and Hyde situation in a way, over who exactly this is, not even recognizing the voice. Now, many of us immediately theorized that it could be Igniel, it could have been END, maybe. Some people ended up bringing up the fact that it could have been the ghost of acnologia, even though that makes no sense. I don't know how that would be a thing. But Igniel and END made the most sense. But Igniel was what came out, and not only does it make sense, but I can prove how this happened. So, first we need to understand how Natsu got into this situation in the first place, where Igniel was basically awake in his head and took over his body. So, in the prior chapters after chapter 200, Natsu had access to what I deem is true Dragon King mode. After eating the flames that Bestia had tried to hold him in during him being separated from everybody else when Ignia ended up unleashing the Calamity Bloods, and Alderaan being used for Universe Omega, Natsu ended up learning that the flames that Bestia had was actually the flames that he once had and was given by Igniel right after he died in Tartarus so that he could use against Zeref in the final arc of the original series. Bestia was revealed to be a scientist from Alvarez that was conveniently there when Natsu fought Zeref, and so when Natsu's power that Igniel had, the dying breaths of Igniel, dispersed into the atmosphere, because that is kind of how magic tends to work with Ether Nano. It comes from the atmosphere and then it disperses in the atmosphere a lot of the time. Somehow, Bestia managed to get enough of it, seal it away, and then began to reform it, and then eventually implanted it within herself so she could use this dragon flames. But since she wasn't compatible with it, it was just strong flames, and not much else happened for her to gain any real sense of power. But when Natsu ate the flames, since not only was it part of his body originally, it was Igneel'S flames himself, and since Natsu is a Dragon Slayer whose powers were given to him by Igniel, and Igniel was within his body for like a decade, for like 7 years at that point, it makes sense for that flame that, even though it was Igneel'S and was technically also Bestia's, he would be able to eat it, and once this magic ended up meeting a compatible host, essentially, amplified Natsu's powers to an absurd degree and amped up not just his baseline flames, but his dragon force as well, giving him a full combination of dragon force and his original Dragon King mode, making him on par for the time being against a human form Ignia and the currently Black Wizard Ferris, who had the powers of acnologia placed within her due to the remnants of his left arm. Okay, we got how Natsu got the power back. But during the fight against Ignia, Ferris, after Ignia was just like getting frustrated with the fight, tried to kill and eat Ferris. Ferris tried to take over Ignia's body, but Ignia did an Uno reverse and burned her away, fully absorbing her powers to the point where now he has the left arm of acnologia and his overall strength in order to have the true Black Flame Dragons, being the Black Flame Dragon God, He then, with Ferris in the back of his mind, kind of being a force ghost, decimates Natsu. Natsu puts up a decent fight, but Igniel was still overwhelmingly powerful enough that he broke through an attack that Natsu used to knock Acnologia off balance. And this is a stronger version of Natsu that also isn't being amped by the other 6 Dragon Slayers, like at the end of Fairy Tail. And so Natsu was basically burned to a crisp, practically on the verge of death, but Wendy healed him enough so that he could get back up on his feet. And then when he gets back up on his feet, when Rockbelt is decimating Wendy and Lucy, I'm still upset about this, we learn that it is actually Igneel'S personality waking back up. And during this chapter of 210, Igniel basically says that the main reason he's still alive and back is because his magic resides within Natsu. And this is where the core crux of Natsu's power and Igneel'S personality and soul comes from. Because in the world of Fairy Tail, magic and the soul are intrinsically linked, because magic power is basically physical and spiritual. When it comes to people using magic, a piece of themselves is always a part of it. And we learned this all the way back, as I mentioned, during the Tartarus arc with, I keep forgetting the Demon Gate's name, the Cyclops guy, Franmouth, I can't pronounce his name. But the guy that's able to absorb other people's magic and turn it against themselves, he even absorbed Lucy's celestial spirits because they qualified as soul beings or spiritual beings. It's also how he was technically able to get the powers of Hades and all of his magic, because his magic is intrinsically tied to his soul. And so since Natsu and Igneel's souls are compatible, and since Natsu got his powers from Igniel to begin with, it reasons to say that he was able to utilize the power of Igneel's flames to an even stronger degree. Not just gifted to Natsu, but devoured and fully accumulated within his body to begin to master it and make it his own. But why is Igneel's personality still there? Well, this could actually be shown as a piece of foreshadowing, because previously, in 2 instances, when Ferris was fighting Bestia originally, when she was trying to fight Ignia, her arm had the powers of acnologia, but once she fully unleashed the powers of acnologia against Bestia to one-shot her and knock her out, she was beginning to act and sound like acnologia, as if being influenced by acnologia's overall personality. Even saying that the flames that Natsu was using against Ignia with the big rainbow fist, Flame of the 7 Dragons, that he used against acnologia at the end of Fairy Tail, were the flames that burned her. And once she originally saw Natsu in his true Dragon King form, the flames that Natsu was giving off reminded Ferris of flashbacks of Igniel ripping off acnologia's left arm, showing that there is at least bits and pieces of memory and personality within acnologia's arm, because his soul is still intact with his magic, or at least a piece of it. And as we learn at the end of the Doggermug arc in 100 Years Quest, thanks to Celine and Irene's conversation in the epilogue of that arc, dragon wounds from dragon attacks aren't just physical, but they are spiritual. When Celine had the injury in her chest when Ignia got a cheap shot off her, let's be honest with ourselves, it was a spiritual wound in and of itself, which is why Irene had to do this big, epic soul equilibrium magic thing. I'm not going to get into that. In order to heal Celine so that she wouldn't die soon after having that injury. So reasons to believe that when Igniel ripped off acnologia's left arm, that also ripped off a piece of his soul. And now that Ferris combined that power with black magic, that she now has the ability to create demons, whenever she fully accesses acnologia's power, a bit of acnologia's personality and spirit is influencing her. Which means every time now that Natsu has a true Dragon King mode, not only has his powers begun to accumulate within his body and begin to master it, but perhaps going to near death and waking back up actually caused whatever remnants of Igneel'S personality within the Dying Breath's magic that he had, that he gave to Natsu, woke back up. That, and also the fact that Igniel, unlike acnologia, when they fought in Tartarus, which is something I probably should have mentioned earlier, that was technically the spiritual entity of Igniel. The dragons that raised the Dragon Slayers died 400 years ago. Their bodies were basically ripped from their souls and bodies were ripped apart by acnologia. Still have no idea how that in the hell happened. That is never explained. Acnologia has seemingly never shown that power at all in the main series, but let's leave that at that for now. Their spirits were separated, so that's another reason how they were able to actually enter the bodies of the 5 Dragon Slayers, and thus allow them to get a dragon antibody so they wouldn't dragonize due to Dragon Slayer magic, and for them to appear when the time is right, fully consolidating their magic deep within them so that they can emerge and use their powers if they had to fight acnologia, which is what Igniel did in Tartarus. And since Igniel was more of a spiritual being at that point when he emerged in Natsu, reason can believe that the magic of Dragon Slayer magic that he has is also part of his soul in a more literal sense. So Igniel being able to wake up his personality after everything that's happened, Natsu getting stronger, getting back the original flames that had his dying breath in it, and now being more powerful, but basically allowed Igniel to kind of wake up and teach Natsu a lesson and help him utilize his powers even more. Now, Igniel didn't come back to life to just win a fight for Natsu, more so to remind Natsu of basically who he is and what his powers are meant to protect, essentially. And he then ends this off before disappearing, saying that he's going to give him his power, his fire, his soul, everything. Basically implying that Igniel's fully giving all of his power to Natsu, that he have basically Natsu regained, and making it a full part of him. Not just a gift for him to use for a one-time thing, but a full integration of his power within Natsu's body. Fully making Natsu the true successor of the Fire Dragon King, and seemingly getting rid of Igneel's personality. Because if he gave Natsu literally everything, it could just be a way of Igniel also removing his own personality, so that Natsu's power and his powers can fully meld. Now, could Igniel reappear in terms of his personality later down the road? Maybe. He said, I can't do this any more than this when he was fighting Rockbuild. But I feel like we definitely need to have like an Igniel and Ignia just talking things out, because Ignia hasn't seen his dad in 400 years, he was raised by his mother, and Igniel raised a human child and gave him power and stuff like that. So I feel like Majima wouldn't have done this for no reason. But if we don't get it, it'd be a major missed opportunity. Which is also why I believe that the whole Igniel revival thing should have happened when Natsu had his rematch with Ignia, and that'll be a turning point in the fight. But that essentially is, and from best I could summarize, how Natsu was able to not only awaken Igniel's personality, but have Igniel take him over. Also, really quick, because I know people are going to mention this, why does Igniel have a human form? It's mentioned in 100 Years Quest that all dragons have some form of transformation magic, which is why they all had human forms. So, of course, the Fire Dragon King Igniel would have some sort of transformation magic in his memory, which is how Natsu was able to his body was turned into what Igniel's human form would be. So yeah, basically, since Dragon Slayer magic is a part of the other dragons, and magic is typed of a soul, makes sense that a copy, or at least a visage of Igniel's personality would be a part of the Dragon Flame that Bestia managed to absorb, that was dispersed into the atmosphere. Natsu consumed it, basically regained its spark, and after dying and coming back to life, essentially, in a sense, or near death and being revived by Wendy, and basically beginning to fully integrate that power, allowed Igniel's soul within the magic to reawaken. And the fact that Igniel was a residual soul within Natsu, since he had no physical body technically, could also mean another thing, that the magic is very much more spiritual, and now that Natsu had it back and amplified it with his own currently more amped up form of power, just jolted whatever was left of Igniel's personality within the magic, and now that that's that, he's gone for good now, seemingly. Could this happen to the other Dragon Slayers? Maybe, but I don't think they could. I think the main thing why this happened to Natsu is because of the unique circumstances of how Natsu regained his powers. The other Dragon Slayers have Dragon Force, except for Gajeel, unfortunately, which kind of sucks, but who knows, that might happen. But outside of the same circumstances of having their Dragon Slayer magic and their dragons, being within them in terms of spiritual form, Natsu only really gained back this power and amped it up and got Igniel's personality to be awakened within his body and his soul is because Natsu was given the dying breaths of Igniel and his magic when he died as a last parting gift to help him beat Zeref. And due to the circumstances of how Natsu got the flames back, I really think that's the only reason why Majima set it up for Igniel to come back in this way. While it would be really cool if the other 4 Dragon Slayers from 400 years ago, the original 5 Dragon Slayers, not Cobra or Loxus, were able to have their dragon parents take them over and their personalities revived, and we get to see what their human forms look like, would be really cool. I mean, Wendy's dragon parent, Grandine, is basically would look like a younger version of Poor Liusica, because Poor Liusica is actually the Edelus version of Grandine somehow. and she ended up in Earthland. It's a whole thing. We can talk about Endless or everything else at another time. But yeah, that's everything I gotta say and explain about how Igniel is back and the circumstances leading up to that and potential plot beats that kind of foreshadowed that this thing could in fact be possible. But you guys let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the events in the manga right now. Did this video help? Is there stuff that I neglected to mention and stuff that I missed completely that could have helped in this explanation? Let me know in the comment section down below. Alongside, what do you think is going to happen now going forward in 100 Years Quest, now that we had the whole Igniel revival pseudo thing that we got? Let me know. And with all that said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really helps and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. With all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day. You know, I'm not going to lie, out of all of the Dragon Slayers whose dragon parents I would love to see human forms for, I would love to see Metallicanas because you know that would be sick as hell. That it would be metal as hell. No question. But Gajul is the only one out of the main 5 Dragon Slayers that hasn't gotten Dragon Force, so I doubt this will end up happening like at all.